Hello, my friends. How are you? I hope all is well in your world. It's been a while since I've made a video, since I've really engaged with the public. And there is definitely reason for that. I've been sick with some issues of sinusitis. It tends to happen every year around this time as the seasons change. It's just something that I've gotten used to. It sucks every time that it happens, but I know that usually around like the end of March, going into the beginning of April, I have to set aside some time to, if I start feeling something, set aside some time to really take care of myself and do what I need to do to nurture my physical health. So I'm wondering if any of you go through sinusitis or sinus infections as well and have to deal with that, because it's not fun. It's something that, it could take you out. Like you might have to just cancel your plans, and you really got to take care. So let me know if you experience that too in the coming of spring. But that's not the reason why I've come to you today. I'll probably make a separate video for my experiences and what I've been going through for these past couple of months, but this video is different. Okay, so sit down, get a cup of tea or something, and let's talk about some things. Let's talk about Ascension, shall we? I wanted to, what really guided me to make this video, I've been wanting to make it for a while, because there seems to be a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings about Ascension and the process of Ascension. But what really triggered me to do this, I don't want to say triggered, it wasn't a trigger, it's more like it gave me the motivation really to post it, was I'm a part of this Ascension support group. I just joined maybe a couple of months ago because I was invited to join. It's on Facebook. So I was invited to join this Ascension community, this Ascension support group. And I thought it was great because my process recently has been really challenging. And there's some things that I've been going through that I didn't think that I would go through. A lot of it has been unexpected changes and things to really reflect on and deal with. So I thought that the group would be a good space to, just seek support, ask questions, talk to people, just like groups are supposed to be. But from what I'm seeing in this group, everyone can post. But from what I'm seeing in this group, there seems to have been a lot of posts from group members that are leaning towards the end of Ascension, like the Ascension perspective that's based on, it's going to sound weird because this is stuff that I'm a part of too, but I guess I'll explain in a minute. It leans towards the end of Ascension in the sense of working with, galactic federations and these beings assisting, and these beings somehow being able to bring us to another phase, another chapter, another level of our ascension and spiritual evolution. I have no issue with assistance. I think assistance is fine from spiritual beings, our guides. But I had a bit of a problem with this particular post that I saw today that was based on this perspective of assistance. The posts that were made previously, I've seen them before from this author who I'm not going to mention the name. They seemed like, okay, you're saying all this stuff, but what are you really saying? What are you truly offering to people here that they can actually implement, that they can actually apply, that they can actually integrate into their lives? Besides telling people that they're light workers, besides telling people that they have all these powers, besides telling people that we're helping, that all these beings are helping, what is really being offered here? So with those posts, I didn't really say anything because I'm like, okay, it's not helpful, but it's also not harmful, you know? So I didn't say anything because I'm like, okay, it's not worth it to really say anything because it's not a big deal. But a post today really caught my attention, and it was at that point that I had to comment because I'm like, okay, no. Like, let's clarify some things here, okay? And the theme of the post was the idea of Earth ascending to a city of light. And in the city of light, the picture that was painted by these beings of the Galactic Federation was that there's no poverty, everyone has a job, and everyone will be paid for their work. There's just kind of paraphrasing, this isn't exactly what was said, but pretty much sunshine and rainbows and everything that you've ever pretty much had to worry about on Earth, you don't have to worry about in the City of Light. And the City of Light is a part of like a galactic ship, which is not a physical ship, but more of like a light ship. It's more of like an energetic ship. So basically telling humanity that soon, obviously a time frame wasn't given, that humanity and all of the Earth would enter into this galactic gateway where they would be ascending into the ship. And this is why we have to be more loving and caring towards each other, because in this space, which seems very heavenly, there's a lot of things that won't be anymore, a lot of things that we've had to deal with. Now, I take up a few issues with this, okay? I take up a few issues with this. First thing that I'll tell you, be very careful and discerning with any kind of channeled material. I don't care who's channeling it, and I don't care what they're channeling. Be very careful and discerning with any kind of channeled material, okay? Because it's coming through a physical human vessel. So there's a lot that can be distorted. And also there are a lot of people that have come into the practice of channeling that have not ripened enough, and channeling sounds exciting, so they get into it really fast, and maybe they don't necessarily have the skills or the tools to be able to do it properly. So we have to be really careful, and no one's vetting this stuff, so it's just out there and everyone's listening, and a lot of people are really searching and seeking for answers, and when they read this stuff, it seems so reassuring, and a lot of people don't really think or feel into the information to say, is this really resonant? Is this really true? So be careful of any kind of channeled material. That's the first thing that I'll tell you. Second thing is, I do not work with the Galactic Federation of Light, and I do not work with the Ashtar Command. Why? Because I was specifically given instructions to not do so. That I'll leave it at that. These were my instructions that I was given. So I work with my personal light team, my personal spirit team, which includes star beings, but also my ancestors, angelic beings, goddesses, the whole kit and caboodle, right? But those two groups I do not work with, okay? So with that being said, the other issues that I have with material like this is that I do feel that it offers misleading information as to what Ascension is about. And I think that it has even more of an impact because we're in a time on our planet now where things are really tough. We're seeing so many changes happen all at the same time, or one after the other. There seems to be so much suffering on the planet, and so much that we're going through as a collective and as individuals as well. So information like this being channeled can really offer a sense of hope and a sense of solace and support at a time on our planet where things seem really dark and we don't know for sure where things are going to go, and it's kind of scary. But we have to also, there's nothing wrong with instilling people with hope, but we have to do so in a way that is mindful, that is grounded, and that is responsible. And I do not believe that telling people that where they will be ascending to, it'll basically be the Christian version of heaven, because that's basically what it sounded like to me. Nothing wrong with a heavenly space, but we have to be very clear about where we're coming from and what are the origins of a lot of these visuals and imageries, and even the concept of the new earth comes right out of the Bible. Okay, so I'm not sure if it has any other connections, but that's definitely one, okay? So we just have to be very clear about that. I think we have to be very careful about these images and this visual representation of a world where everything's perfect. The word perfect was not used in the post, but that's basically what they're getting at, is that where you are now on the physical planet, it'll be a more perfected or harmonious version of what we're doing now. Specifically, this idea of everyone having a job and being paid for their work. Now, that seems off to me, because it seems like it's not that different than what we're doing now. The only difference is that everyone would be getting paid a fair wage. But that's not the way nature works. We're basically, with that image, staying within the same system that has been cultivated for years and years and years, which has caused a lot of problems for not only humanity, but animals and the planet. There's a lot of issues with that kind of system. And if you look at nature, nature doesn't work that way. When you look at the trees, they give their oxygen. They don't withhold it if we don't. They're not withholding anything from us. We give our carbon dioxide naturally. The trees give their oxygen naturally. There's no withholding. There's no, oh, well, you have to give me this, before I can give you that. It's something natural that happens. When animals are going about their day, the ants are building their anthills, and the birds are looking for food, or they're flying about. All the animals, whatever they're doing, they're not seeking compensation for that. They're just being themselves. They're just doing their thing. They're just living their lives, not withholding any part of who they are. And they are very open and perceptive to their own divine intelligence, what they were put on the earth here to do. So the system that we have built is not natural. It's something that we came up with. And quite frankly, I would be really annoyed if I went into some lightship in the fifth dimension or that energy basically grounded into this dimension, and it's the same crap. It's like, well, how is that any different than what we're doing right now? It just, once I saw that, I'm like, okay, I have to say something, because besides the fluffy information that really doesn't mean anything, is not really offering any kind of real support, any real help. It's just kind of stroking your ego a little bit. Yes, you're a light worker. Yes, you're this. Yes, you're that. Yes, we're helping you and we're lifting the veils, and that's all nice, but how is that really helping? Because Ascension, that process, is not about living in a seemingly perfect world. And it's not about being in a space where nothing bad ever happens. It's not about not dealing with your emotions. It's not about not having to deal with all the things that are a part of life, just things that are natural parts of life. Everything is born, everything ages and dies. Sometimes it gets sick. And And a lot of people would argue with the sickness thing and the purpose of sickness, and I don't want to go into that too much. But just life as we're seeing it at this point, everything has that potential of old age, sickness, and death. And Ascension does not take you away from those things. If anything, it helps you to further engage with the fullness of life and everything that comes with life. Whereas typically we have a tendency to resist life, and we have a tendency to try and manipulate life to our will and what we think it's supposed to look like. And sometimes Ascension or, these kind of new age concepts can serve as a way to escape from the reality of life. And a lot of people are always looking for and searching for something that's not this, something that is the opposite of this in the positive direction. And I do believe, this is my perspective, that Ascension helps us to see the beauty of life as it is, not try to make it out to be something that it's not. And it also shows us that we have the opportunity and the ability to navigate through life as we choose. That life as it unfolds is just unfolding. And we can choose how we see what's unfolding based on our relationship with life. And I think a lot of people also have a tendency to think or believe that Ascension, like once you ascend, that's it, like you're done. Like you don't have to worry about anything again. You don't have to deal with certain aspects of life anymore. But you won't be challenged anymore. But that's not true. Ascension is just the beginning. It's the beginning of another chapter of your development as a divine human. And it comes with its own challenges. There are a lot of things that, my finger, I put the phone on my finger, it hurts. There are a lot of challenges, new challenges that may present themselves when you cross that threshold. But the whole thing is, how are you going to deal with that? How are you going to choose to see those challenges? And if you choose to see those challenges in the old way, like, it's fine. Like, no one's going to punish you for that. And no one is going to criticize you for that. There's no divine beings like, oh boy, so-and-so is becoming attached to the experience and they're upset and they're sad, and like, no, like, it's fine. However you choose to relate to experiences is fine. You shouldn't judge yourself for any kind of emotional reaction that you have to life experiences. Just know that you have the opportunity. You have the ability to choose how you're going to navigate through it. Like, you may have an emotional reaction, but then from there you can say, okay, now that I've given myself that time to really sit with my emotions and feel what I'm feeling, now what am I going to do? How am I going to continue to see the situation from here on out? Okay? So, I really wanted to expound upon this because I feel like it's so important for people to have an honest view of this process and not use it as a way to escape life, as a way to not experience the beauty of life and the beauty of what we are as human beings. So allow this process of ascension to help you to embrace more of life. When you're going through something that's seemingly negative, instead of trying to escape it, sink into it even more, feel into it even more, be even more present. That's what it's here. That's what that process is here to help you with. Okay? See if there's anything else that really comes to mind for me with this. There's something else, but I want to make a whole other video on it. I'll mention it briefly here. Also, don't assume that going through this ascension process and going through your manifestation techniques that you're all of a sudden going to be a billion-dollar entrepreneur, because I believe that's another deception that is out there in the New Age community that needs to be discussed. And I'll discuss it more in the future, but I'll just say that there are a lot of spiritual teachers and leaders that I know of personally that are not rich and they are not entrepreneurs. And that does not mean that they are not spiritually advanced. But we have this idea in our society, because we have capitalized spirituality, that the main way that you can tell if a spiritual teacher is actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, or if someone has made it, is if they're rich and if they're able to have their own business and they're able to have a big house and 3 cars. Be careful of that one too, okay? Because ascension or spiritual development does not automatically equal wealth, at least not in the physical sense. We have to get back to the true meaning of abundance. And it's not the physical dollar. It's the energy behind the dollar. But we'll talk about that more in the future. I'm glad the wind wasn't too crazy today. It's beautiful out. I'm so grateful. I love it. Last time I tried to film a video out here and it was just crazy. The wind was nuts and I couldn't hear anything. But I hope that this video gave you some insight, something to think about, feel into. And I'll see you all soon. Sending you all my love. Take care. Bye-bye.